Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Community Unitarian Universalist Church here in Plano, Texas. My name is Reverend Dr. Aija Duelm. I am the minister of this congregation. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. And it's so good to see you. It's good to be back. I was on vacation, and this is my first time back to see all of you. I had a good time with my family. Cool weather. The maximum was 80s. I know you're all jealous of that. I finally got to take my jacket. I know. Go north. That's all it is, right? Go north. Good to see you. I'm here today by myself. It is this time of the year when I like to give our worship associates a little bit of a break, and I'll try to manage it all. See how I do. You know that they do so much that it's not always noticeable to those who are watching us. Jen Mason created slides for me while she's also in a different state outside of Texas. So we do things behind the scenes, and we all do things here behind the scenes that often others may not notice. Here we are a faith community. We are a religious community. And as such, we affirm the dignity and worth of all beings. We put love at the center, and we work for justice. Those are kind of our key pillars of our faith. And these pillars make this faith to be not an easy one. It requires us to think about what we do and how we live our lives every day with every step that we make. Part of this involves saying yes. And here today we're going to talk about saying yes as a spiritual practice, what it is. An example, saying yes is coming here on a Sunday morning. And you have a million other things you could be doing right now with your life. It's a task where we say yes to volunteer in this community, to offer your time, your energy, your gifts, your wisdom, your heart, even your heart, so that we can carry hope in the world. And I know that while I was away, there are so many things that have happened here that makes us in a place where we are more and more in need of hope. From the flooding to another legislative session, as if we hadn't had enough, that is again promising to look again at the already defeated bathroom bill and discuss where people should pee or not. They're looking at redistricting 5 years ahead of the census of the typical plan and schedule. So all these things are just making us nervous and in need of hope. So today we'll look at this, saying yes as a spiritual practice, but we will also have some joyous moments. We will celebrate our newest members today. So you saw the gifts in here. Those are for them. Don't get your hopes up. You're not going to get them. Not everybody's going to get them. Wherever you are on your journey, I'm glad you're here. We're all glad you're here. We're welcome here. Our call to worship comes from words written by Gretchen, the bright thread of hope. There is too much beauty in this world to give up on it yet. And it is always too soon to surrender to cynicism. Bring your doubt, your skepticism, your downright confusion, even your bitterness. But in the midst of all these, in the center, wrap your tender fingers around that still, bright thread of hope. Feel in your heart that is still steady hunger for something more. The vision we glimpse every day in the rising sun across the foothills. The light that spreads across the face of the one we love. The look of knowing all there is to know and still loving life, loving us just as it is, just as we are. For this hour, we come to celebrate, to praise, to give thanks, to refuse to give up, to steady ourselves, keepers of hope, brave builders of this still possible world. Come, let us worship together. We begin by lighting our chalice, which is a symbol of Unitarian Universalists, of our heritage of the past and light of hope in the future. And Jan Scott will light it for us.
The chalice reading this morning is by Gordon McKeeman. Deep calls unto deep. Joy calls unto joy, light calls unto light. Let the kindling of this flame rekindle in us the inner light of love, of peace, of hope. And as one flame lights another, nor grows the less, we pledge ourselves to be bearers of the light wherever we are.
Every week we remind ourselves of the covenant or the promise that we make with one another about the ways that we will walk together as a community. Please join me in saying these words together again. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, and to help one another. What is your definition of hope? Do you have one? Do we need one? I looked up a Cambridge dictionary and looked up some psychologist phrases, and I decided, no, Andrea Gibson says plenty. Andrea Gibson was a poet and activist and died just recently. But they see hope as our ability to influence others, as something that has the ability to resonate with others, bring life into others, bring sunshine, breath, and survival. In this poem, Say Yes, they draw on music as an example. When one violin strikes a note, another one will follow. When we sing a song, it will touch others. I imagine not everyone in this room are musically very gifted or inclined, and some of us sing our own notes in the shower, and that's what it is. If you were here last week and if you heard our violinist, Mark Anetti, you know what I'm talking about. Music can touch our soul beyond our rational minds. It speaks directly to our heart, changes how we are in the world in that moment. That's what hope does as well. Hope, too, goes beyond our rational minds sometimes, and it moves us. It changes our ways of being in that moment, opens up to us to feelings and possibilities. And this is how Andrea Gibson sees hope. If this is your definition of hope, if you heard its call to carry hope, to lean into it, to bring it to others. Andrea Gibson says, say yes. That is, be an active participant in bringing this hope into the world. During our time for Ages, we played the improv game, Yes and. Thank you so much for participating. It takes a leap of faith to try something new, to dare and say yes. Every improv games, usually they have some rules, and Candace was shared us about these improv games, but they are usually a long list. Some say there are 10 rules for the improv game. Others will probably have a different number, but the part is that we experience here today, the first thing was, when you enter the scene, when it is your turn to say something, you start with yes. You do not question whatever the partner said. You do not start to analyze it or critique it. You say yes. Simply being open-minded, you start with that and then see where it takes you. Also, saying yes is not enough. There are more rules in the game. You need to add something, and you need to say and, which is you are contributing something from yourself to this story, to this game, to whatever you're doing. In life, saying yes is a spiritual practice, if we choose it to be, that involves that leap of faith. It involves being open to something new, unknown, unfamiliar. And it also requires bringing something of yourself to the table, to contribute in order to keep that work going. And this practice of saying yes is not really just a good idea. It is quite integral for a religious community like ours. As Unitarian Universalists, we believe that we are interconnected. There are several theological views that will explain how this all works. Process theology is one of those that emphasizes interconnectedness. And it also teaches a constant movement, a constant growing, that we are never stagnant, we're never the same in the place where we are. We keep changing, we keep interacting with the world, with others, and it changes us, it moves us forward or somewhere. Bernard Loomer is a process theologian, one of the influential names in this field. He writes that in the world, from the process theology perspective, growth occurs in relationships, in that making of the relationships. And these relationships are what creates us as individuals and as society. And what determines the effectiveness of relationships is the ability to grow, to accept tensions, to expand, to be open-minded for what comes next. Yes, and. Our relationships depend on our ability to expand our souls, to add this yes and, to bring creative capacity into whatever communities we join. Our growth is possible when we shift our minds to welcoming these new possibilities, to say yes to these new opportunities. And often the practice of saying yes requires us to face our own fears and limitations, Sometimes it requires us to go against our rational thinking patterns in order to embrace the new. And sometimes if we are courageous enough, we may decide to say yes to some things that our rational mind could not imagine. I recall several years ago, I asked one of the ministers to be a chaplain at the children's camp at U. And this minister said yes, only because that year he had chosen the spiritual practice of saying yes as his practice of the year. He was very out of comfort zone with children and youth, very out of comfort with being out in the wild at U. For those of you who have been there, with all the chiggers and heat that is out there. But he said yes. And because he said yes, what he discovered was a wonderful experience, wonderful connections that he built with the youth at the camp. And this would never have happened if he hadn't said yes. So think about what you might be asked to do and what could come out of it. Today we celebrated our newest members. They said yes to joining and becoming part of this community. These are moments of celebration for the new members, but also for us. These are moments of gratitude for the life's journey that has brought us together in this time and this space. They're also moments of courage to say yes, to embrace that journey without knowing where it will take, what opportunities may come your way. And I hope that when they said yes, they actually meant yes and that we all are ready for that. Because it takes yes and to create a community like ours. We are possible because of our volunteers, because of the work that you all do, behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, but so many things, so many opportunities that are in this community that create who we are, that help us to build the relationships that we have. When we say yes, we continue to carry hope. Sometimes we take turns because things happen, but that's what the community is for. We have that opportunity to take turns in carrying that hope for one another, to keep saying yes in the moments when we are strong and in the moments we are less strong. And yes, we know not everything in this community is perfect. If you thought it was, you're in the wrong place. We make mistakes. Some things go wrong. And sometimes our views just do not agree. Usually we say whenever there are two Unitarian Universalists in a room, there are 3 different perspectives. But when we shift to saying yes, yes and, we shift away from simply criticizing the other view. We build on the other view. And by saying yes, we offer support and help and encouragement to those who are doing the work, coming up with some thoughts and ideas, and together we can make them better. I read a story about our 3rd president, Thomas Jefferson, which I really think is just a story, so do not start to put it in the history books. He and his companions were traveling in the countryside, and on their way they came up to a wide river. And the only way to cross this river was on a horseback, fighting against the rapid currents. There was a traveler who was not a member of this group, but he watched what they were doing. Several of the companions plunged into water to get through to the other side, and eventually they emerged on the other side, but it looked pretty dangerous. So this traveler asked Thomas Jefferson if he would hitchhike a ride together so that they would go together, help each other to cross this river on to the other side. And they did. When they got off on the other side, the president's companions asked the man, why did he ask the President of the United States to help him? And the man said, I didn't know he was the president. All I know is some of your faces said no, but his face said yes. In this community, we too need some yes faces. We continue to change and grow as a community. As the world changes, we need to adapt and respond to it, and we do need these yes faces to build relationships that connect us to each other, to all the things that are sacred. And as we seek to grow, including those who've been here for a while, including those who are new to our community, I invite us to remind each other to say yes and. To play the chords that we have, the strings that we have, whatever sound they make that music. And together create a symphony that brings sun, life, and love to others. In the end, as one of the hymns say, if they ask what I did best, tell them I said yes to life, to love, to hope. Amen. Our worship time has come to a close, and it is that time to extinguish our chalice. Please join me in saying these words together. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. As we go forth, I offer you these final words. They were written by Maureen Killoran. No matter how weak or how frightened we might feel, we each have gifts that can make a difference in the world. In this coming week, may you do at least one thing to support the broken, to welcome the stranger, to celebrate what is worthy, to do the work of justice and love. Be strong, be connected, each day act, so you may be a little more whole. Amen.